Today we will see the explanation of devotional service by Lord Kapila. So before reading of the chapter, I will give a quick recap and a quick flow of the chapter, and then we can start reading it. So, so we were reading about the story of Mother Devahuti and Kardama Muni. We saw how they got married by the inspiration of the Lord Himself, how they lived a life of austerities. Then we heard about the birth of their nine daughters who were married to nine different sages. Uh, and then by the desire of Mother Devahuti, a son is born who is Kapila Muni himself, who is incarnation of the Lord, who was born to spread the path of self-realization and the science of Sankhya Yoga. So further, we got to know how once Mother Devahuti asked question to her son, say Kapila Muni, about the absolute truth. And thus begins their discussion, where the Lord starts explaining the Sankhya Yoga, the fundamental principles of mother nature, so material nature. And then further in the last class, we saw him explaining the Ashtanga Yoga, meditating on the individual limbs of the Lord, the Bhakti Mishrit Yoga. So now we will see the explanation of devotional service by Lord Kapila. So this chapter begins by three questions of Mother Devahuti. And those three questions are very important. The first one is explain in detail the path of bhakti, which is the root cause of knowledge of Sankhya and the ultimate end of all philosophical systems. Second is describe the nature of time, fearing which people perform pious acts. And third is describe the continual process of birth and death of the jivas, hearing which one becomes detached. So, so I'll just quickly explain the flow of the chapter. So after the questions of Mother Devahuti, the Lord explains the performers of bhakti in the three different modes. So the ones in ignorance are devoid of compassion. The ones in passion have desires for objects other than the Supreme Lord. And the ones in goodness desire for liberation. But then the Lord explains the characteristics of pure bhakti, which is beyond the three modes. So here he says that bhakti is the highest state of existence. Then he further describes the components of bhakti for the purification of mind and describes the qualities of a Madhyama Adhikari. Then he describes the offenses in bhakti that can happen due to hatred, criticism, envy, etc. And here he focuses his aspect as the super soul, the Paramatma, which is present in everyone's heart. And he says, like, disregarding the presence of Paramatma in everyone's heart is a big obstacle in bhakti. Then he talks about the solution for this, which is realization of the presence of Lord in everyone's heart. And then he says one can propitiate the Lord in beings by charity, respect, and friendly behavior, along with equal vision. So, friendly behavior for the equals, respect to the seniors, and charity to the juniors, but internally having equal vision. And then for this external discrimination, he gives the gradation of jivas, which go from inanimate objects, then objects like beings having consciousness, to animals, to human beings. And then he says the highest in the ladder of these jivas is a pure devotee. And then he further describes the characteristics of time as another feature of the Supreme Lord. So now we can start. Yeah, so now we can start the reading of the chapter. Uh, just a minute, I forgot to count the verses. Let me see. We have 45 verses, so maybe we can have five readers with nine who can read nine verses each. Would anyone like to start reading? Ritesh Prabhu, you can go ahead.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Devahuti inquired, "My dear Lord, you have already very scientifically described the symptoms of the total material nature and the characteristics of the spirit according to the Sankhya system of philosophy. Now I shall request you to explain the path of devotional service, which is the ultimate end of all philosophical systems." Devahuti continued, "My dear Lord, please also describe in detail, both for me and for people in general, the continual process of birth and death. For by hearing of such calamities, we may become detached from the activities of this material world. Please also describe eternal time, which is a representation of your form, and by whose influence in general engage in the performance of pious activities. My dear Lord, you are just like the sun, for you illuminate the darkness of the conditioned life of the living entities. Because their eyes of knowledge are not open, they are sleeping eternally in that darkness without your shelter, and therefore they are falsely engaged by the actions and reactions of their material activities, and they appear to be very fatigued. Sri Maitreya said, "O best amongst the Kurus, the great sage Kapila, moved by great compassion and pleased by the words of his glorious mother, spoke as follows. Lord Kapila, the personality of Godhead, replied, O noble lady, there are multifarious paths of devotional service in terms of the different qualities of the executor. Devotional service executed by a person who is envious, proud, violent, and angry, and who is a separatist, is considered to be in the mode of darkness. The worship of deities in the temple by a separatist, with a motive for material enjoyment, fame, and opulence, is devotion in the mode of passion." Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Uh, Nupur Mataji, you can go ahead.
Krishna. When a devotee worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead and offers the results of his activities in order to free himself from the inebrities of fruitive activities, his devotion is in the mode of goodness. The manifestation of unadulterated devotional service is exhibited when one's mind is at once attracted to hearing the transcendental name and qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is residing in everyone's heart. Just as the water of the Ganges flows naturally down towards the ocean, such devotional ecstasy, uninterrupted by any material condition, flows towards the Supreme Lord. A pure devotee does not accept any kind of liberation, salokya, sarishti, samirpya, sarupya, or ekatva, when even though they are offered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By attaining the highest platform of devotional service, as I have explained, one can overcome the influence of the three modes of material nature and be situated in the transcendental stage as is the Lord. A devotee must execute his prescribed duties, which are glorious, without material profit. Without excessive violence, one should regularly perform one's devotional activities. The devotee should regularly see my statues in the temple, touch my lotus feet, and offer worshipable paraphernalia and prayer. He should see in the spirit of renunciation, from the mode of goodness, and see every living entity as spiritual. The pure devotee should execute devotional service by giving the greatest respect to the spiritual master and the acharyas. He should be compassionate to the poor and make friendship with persons who are his equals. But all his activities should be executed under regulation and with control of the senses. A devotee should always try to hear about spiritual matters and should always utilize his time in chanting the holy name of the Lord. His behavior should always be straightforward and simple. And although he is not envious but friendly to everyone, he should avoid the company of persons who are not spiritually advanced. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Kameshwar Prabhu, you can go ahead from 19 to
Hare Krishna
27.
Prabhu.
Yeah.
When one is fully qualified with all these transcendental attributes and his consciousness is thus completely purified, he is immediately attracted simply by hearing my name or hearing of my transcendental quality. As the chariot of air carries an aroma from its source and immediately catches the sense of smell, similarly, one who constantly engages in devotional service in Krishna consciousness can catch the Supreme Soul who is equally present everywhere. I am present in every living entity as a super soul. If someone neglects or disregards that super soul everywhere and engages himself in the worship of the deity in the temple, that is simply imitation. One who worships the deity of Godhead in the temples but does not know that the Supreme Lord as Paramatma is situated in every living entity's heart must be in ignorance and is compared to one who offers oblations into ashes. One who offers me respect but is envious of the bodies of others and is therefore a separatist never attains peace of mind because of his inimical behavior towards other living entities. My dear mother, even if he worships with proper rituals and paraphernalia, a person who is ignorant of my presence in all living entities never pleases me by the worship of my deities in the temple. Performing his described duties, one should worship the deity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead until one realizes my presence in his own heart and in the hearts of other living entities as well. As the blazing fire of death, I cause great fear to whoever makes the least discrimination between himself and other living entities because of a differential outlook. Therefore, through charitable gifts and attention, as well as through friendly and by viewing all to be alike, one should propitiate me who abide in all creatures as their very self. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, bro. Would anyone else like to read? Or I can read it.
I can go, Prabhu. Which verse can you remind me
So from
once?
28, Prabhu, you can go from 28 to 36.
Sure. Living entities are superior to inanimate objects, O Blessed Mother, and among them, living entities who display life symptoms are better. Animals with developed consciousness are better than them, and better still are those who have developed sense perception. Among the living entities who have developed sense perception, those who have developed the sense of taste are better than those who have developed only the sense of touch. Better than them are those who have developed the sense of smell, and better still are those who have developed the sense of hearing. Better than those living entities who can perceive sound are those who can distinguish between one form and another. Better than them are those who have developed the upper and lower sets of teeth, and better still are those who have many legs. Better than them are the quadrupeds, and better still are the human beings. Among human beings, the society is divided according to quality and work. Among human beings, the society which is divided according to quality and work is best. And in that society, the intelligent men who are designated as Brahmanas are best. Among the Brahmanas, one who has studied the Vedas is the best. And among the Brahmanas who have studied the Vedas, one who knows the actual purport of the Veda is the best. Better than the Brahmana who knows the purpose of the Vedas is he who can dissipate all doubts, and better than him is one who strictly follows the Brahmanical principles. Better than him is one who is liberated from all material contamination, and better than him is a pure devotee who executes devotional service without expectation of reward. Therefore, I do not find a greater person than he who has no interest outside of mine and who therefore engages and dedicates all his activities and all his life, everything, unto me without cessation. Such a perfect devotee offers respect to every living entity because he is under the firm conviction that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has entered the body of every living entity as a super soul or controller. My dear mother, O daughter of Manu, a devotee who applies the science of devotional service and mystic yoga in this way can achieve the abode of the Supreme Person simply by that devotional service. This Purusha, whom the individual soul must approach, is the eternal form of the personality, Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as Brahman and Paramatma. He is a transcendental chief personality, and his activities are all spiritual.
Thank you, Prabhu. Now I'll complete the chapter. The time factor who causes the transformation of various material manifestations is another feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone who does not know what that time is, anyone who does not know that time is the same Supreme Personality is afraid of that time factor. Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the enjoyer of all sacrifices, is the time factor and the master of all masters. He enters everyone's heart. He is the support of everyone, and he causes every being to be annihilated by another. No one is dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, nor is anyone his enemy or friend. But he gives inspiration to those who have not forgotten him and destroys those who have. Out of fear of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the wind blows. Out of fear of him, the sun shines. Out of fear of him, the rain pours forth showers. And out of fear of him, the host of heavenly bodies shed their luster. Out of fear of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the trees, creepers, herbs, and seasonal plants and flowers blossom and fructify, each in its own season. Out of fear of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the rivers flow and the ocean never overflows. Out of fear of Him, only does fire burn, and does the earth with its mountains not sink in the water of the universe. Subject to the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the sky allows outer space to accommodate all the various planets, which hold innumerable living entities. The total universal body expands with its seven coverings under his supreme control. Out of the fear of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the directing demigods in charge of the modes of material nature carry out the functions of creation, maintenance, and destructions. Everything animate and inanimate within this material world is under their control. The eternal time factor has no beginning and no end. It is the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the maker of the criminal world. It brings about the end of the phenomenal world. It carries on the work of creation by bringing one individual into existence from another. And likewise, it dissolves the universe by destroying even the Lord of Death, Yamaraja. So, thank you, all the readers. Now we can start with the chapter. I just do the prayers before it. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Can you see my slides again?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So here we are going to deal with three themes. The first theme is liberation versus pure devotional service. We can see like why the pure devotees are not accepting liberation and only taking pure devotion. Then the second theme which we are going to see is seeing everyone with equal vision. We saw in the verses there was so much emphasis on seeing the Paramatma in everyone's heart. So we'll be discussing about that. And last theme is time. Is it a source of fear or feature of the Supreme Lord? How materialists look at time versus how devotees look at time. So, with that, yeah, this is our first theme, liberation versus pure devotional service. So, this is a very important verse. I want to just chant it again. So, It says a pure devotee does not accept any kind of liberation, salokya, sarshti, samipya, sarupya, or ekatva, even though they are offered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here, Salokya is getting to stay in the same planet as the Supreme Lord. Sarshti is getting the same opulences as the Lord. Samipya is getting to stay near the Lord, like a associate of the Lord. Sarupya is getting the same form of the Lord, and Ekatva, which is also known as Sayuja, is merging into the Lord. So, so here it is highlighted that even though the devotees, pure devotees, are offered this by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they do not accept it. So in this verse, the uh, Vinamat Sevanam is very important. So here it is highlighted that the devotees won't accept it if it is without service, if it is given without service. So devotees will accept like staying in the planet, being an associate, if it is service to the Lord. But if it is not service, so basically they won't take it as any form of like pleasure for themselves or a show off. They are not interested in any of those things. For them, service is so important that they won't even accept samipya, which is like being an associate of the Lord if it is without service. So yeah, just interesting part. So here I would like to start with a question for everyone. What does liberation personally mean to you? You can reflect, and if anyone would like to talk about it. What do you think when you think of liberation?
Time to do whatever I want.
That's a nice answer, sure.
I mean, yeah, we are hard pressed for time, everyone, each one
Yeah.
of us actually. So, yeah, so
Being
that,
free, basically, being free
yeah,
to do what you want. That's a
yeah.
very nice answer. Anyone else? I think Nitya Kishori Mataji is saying from suffering, material fool. So basically, freeing from suffering. Do you want to elaborate on that, Mataji? But yeah, that's a valid answer. Like, so, oh, I'm sorry, Mataji. Yeah, but that's a nice answer. Like liberation from basically suffering, material world. That's a very valid answer. Anyone else?
Not being influenced by the three modes of material nature and not being influenced by our conditionings.
Yeah, that's a beautiful point. Not being, yeah, from liberation from our conditioning itself. Yeah. So, Mataji, do you think like what would be the stage if these things are not there with you if you are liberated from these things? Do you want to reflect on that?
I wouldn't be so disturbed by what happens in my life.
Right.
Yeah, I would be kind of uh, uh, liberated, detached from everything that I'm doing.
Right. That's a very valid point. Thank you for that, Mataji. So now I would like everyone to meditate on a past situation where we were undergoing some pain or some problem which was really bothering us. It could be like a physical pain, emotional pain, and meditate a problem which is not there in your life anymore. So everyone can take a minute to reflect on it. So if everyone is done, we can now meditate on the feeling we had when the problem or pain ended. How did we feel after that? So yeah, uh, now if everyone is ready with that, just hold on to that answer. What was the feeling after the pain or problem had ended? And now we have to do one more meditation on a situation when we were performing a loving service for the Lord or Guru. Anything that you liked, which you really enjoyed, which really resonated with you. So try to meditate on that situation and remember the feeling you had when you were performing that loving service to either your Guru or to Krishna. Okay, so if everyone is done with that, just hold on to that feeling as well. Oops. So now I want you to compare between the two kinds of happiness. One was the end of pain, the end of the problems, and the second was performing a loving service. I just want you to compare between those two feelings which you had. Take a minute to do that. So would anyone like to share about what was the differences in these two feelings?
So I felt like when my suffering ended, it was a relief. Like it was obviously a good feeling, but it was more of relief.
Right,
Then, every year, my favorite time of year is my Guru Maharaj's Vyas Puja.
right,
Um, and yeah, we meet all our god siblings. It's a really happy occasion when everyone from all over the world comes together to celebrate our Guru Maharaj. That's just a pure bliss, happy time. So it's different from like just the relief from material suffering.
yeah. That's a very beautiful reflection, Mataji. So you would prefer which one out of like just as a feeling?
Doesn't mean I don't want suffering relief, but I would
No.
prefer the Vyas Puja.
No, I
Yeah.
don't mean it that way. I'm just comparing between the two feelings. Like one is
Yeah.
the happiness after the pain ended, and one is the happiness of the Vyas Puja, as you said.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's a
Definitely
beautiful.
the Vyas Puja feeling is what I prefer. Yeah.
Makes sense. That's beautiful. Anyone else would like to answer about it? I think Vallabh Chaitanya Prabhu is saying selfless and selfish. Do you want to elaborate on that, Prabhu?
Yes, bro. I don't know. This is my thought. Liberation sounds more like escapism from the world,
Right. Right.
whereas the other is like service um, to the Lord, more like selfless and more satisfying.
That's so true. Yeah. Being selfless, it is also more satisfying.
Also, I have a question. Like, is liberation, what kind of happiness does it provide? Is it spiritual happiness? Is it no happiness? Because pure devotion service has spiritual happiness,
Right.
and there is one material happiness in this world.
Right.
What about liberation? Is it spiritual happiness? Is it like neutral happiness, or is it material happiness?
Right. That's a very nice question, Prabhu. I think uh, here, like we will come to that later. Like there are verses from Prahlad Maharaj where he compares like the happiness of liberation with the happiness of pure devotional service. And from what I understood from those verses, that liberation was also in a type of spiritual happiness because it was called Brahmananda, which was merging with the Lord. But the second happiness of bhakti was, we will come to that later. But yeah, as far as I understand, it was more of like Brahmananda, which was like being yourself and you are not afflicted by any of the pains and you are merged with the Lord, that kind of thing.
Sure, Prabhu. We'll wait.
Does anyone else want to add to it, like Gaur Kumar Prabhu? I don't know if I said the right thing.
It's perfect, Prabhu.
So
Please continue. Yeah.
So one thing I had heard was maybe you will cover this, but in Brahmajyoti, in Brahmananda, as you mentioned, there is Ananda,
Right.
but and that Ananda is because you're in the rays of light that are emanating from the lotus feet of the Lord.
Mm,
That is the Ananda there. So there is Ananda. It's not that it's literally like a zero state.
right.
So there is some amount of Ananda because you're in the rays of the light coming from the lotus feet of the Lord. But still, that cannot compare to the bliss that is there in service. So that's
Yeah, that's beautiful point, bro.
Yeah, also I think Ananda, I mean happiness will be there because wherever the soul is.
Right.
Otherwise, that contradicts the nature of soul, which is like Sachit Ananda.
Correct. That's correct. Exact point, bro. Yeah, I think that's what Prahlad Maharaj's verses also say ahead. I think Ritesh Prabhu is saying one leads to peace, maybe temporary happiness, and other is happiness, Ananda. Uh, I'm not sure about the temporary, Prabhu, but yeah, we will come again to this thing later about uh, one being Brahmananda versus the other being the ecstasy of pure bhakti. So, oops. Let this go. Okay. So I think one slide is missing, but here I just wanted to like quickly compare liberation and pure bhakti. Let me see if, okay, sorry. Yeah. So if we think about it, the goal of liberation is end of suffering, end of the samsara, end of the repeated cycles of birth and death. Versus the goal of pure bhakti is loving service to Krishna. The nature of liberation, if you think about it, it is more about freedom from something. The so the focus is more about our current situation or our existing pain, sufferings, and getting free from it. But the pure bhakti, the nature of it is more positive. We are focusing on a relationship with the Supreme Lord, a loving relationship. And uh, again, the way we were discussing about the bliss, like, yeah, the experience of liberation is definitely peace, Ananda is there, but pure bhakti is ecstatic love. And the scriptures say that liberation is also definitely very hard to achieve, but still it is easily given by the Lord. And for pure bhakti, it is really rarely given by the Lord. So it is said that amongst the millions of jivas who achieve liberation, there is one who will achieve pure bhakti. And if we see the approach of pure devotees towards liberation, they reject it, but they embrace the pure bhakti. And Krishna himself prefers the bhaktas over the muktas. So, yeah, that was just a quick comparison. Let me see. Yeah, sorry. So, one question over here is, can you name some devotees who prayed for pure devotional service to the Lord and said they do not want liberation? I think I showed a few of my next slides, but you can still guess those names. Anyone would like to guess the names of such devotees who prayed like this to the Lord?
Satyavrat Muni.
Yeah. Anyone else, Prabhu? So yeah, there is a
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
yeah.
Sudama?
Sudama could be, I'm not sure, Mataji. I'm sure he did. I mean, anyone else? So So now we will just read some prayers. Obviously, these are not all that. I'm sure there is a long list of devotees who prayed like this, basically every pure devotee. But I have just added a few prayers from Bhagavatam where the devotees are praying that way to the Lord. If uh, maybe one person can volunteer to read one prayer. That will be nice, and all of us can also like recite the prayers. I'll start it. So Prithu Maharaj says this: My dear Lord, if after taking liberation I have no chance of hearing the glories of your Lordship, glories chanted by pure devotees from the core of their hearts in praise of your lotus feet, and if I have no chance of this honey of transcendental bliss, then I shall never ask for liberation or this so-called spiritual emancipation. I shall simply always pray until your Lordship unto your lordship that you may give me millions of tongues and millions of ears so that I can constantly chant and hear of your transcendental glories. So yeah, such was the mood of Prithu Maharaj. Anyone would like to read the prayers of Vritrasura?
My dear Lord, by leaving your transcendental service, I may be promoted to the planet called Dhruva Loka, the pole star, or I may gain lordship over all the planetary systems of the universe. But I do not aspire to this, nor do I wish the mystic perfections of yoga practice, nor do I aspire to spiritual emancipation. All I wish for, my Lord, is your association and transcendental service eternally.
Thank you, bro. I think Nandini Mataji and Ritesh Prabhu, you have raised your hands.
Rajendra, my dear Lord, I have no experience of the transcendental bliss derived from your devotional service, so therefore I have asked from you some favor. But I know that persons who are pure devotees and have, by serving the lotus feet of great souls, become freed from all material desires are always merged in the ocean of transcendental bliss and as such are always satisfied simply by glorifying your auspicious characteristics. For them, there is nothing else to aspire to or pray for.
Thank you, Mataji. Uh, Anyone wants to read Nagpatni's?
Dear, am I audible? No?
Yes, bro.
Okay. Dear Lord, the dust of your lotus feet is very wonderful. Any person who is fortunate enough to achieve this dust does not care for heavenly planets, lordship over all the planetary systems, the mystic perfections of yoga, or even liberation from material existence. In other words, anyone who adores the dust of your lotus feet does not care a fig for all other perfectional stages.
Thank you, bro. Anyone who wants to read for the Shrutis, the Vedas personified? I can read it. Dear Lord, it is very difficult to understand spiritual knowledge. Your appearance here, just as you are, is to explain to us this most difficult subject of knowledge of the Spirit. As such, your devotees who have left their domestic comforts to associate with the liberated acharyas, teachers, are now fully merged in the devotional service of your lordship, and thus they do not care for any so-called liberation. Then it is Hanuman. Anyone wants to read it? Okay, so my dear Lord, if you like, you can give me salvation from this material existence or the privilege of merging into your existence. But I do not wish any of these things. I do not want anything that diminishes my relationship with you as servant to master, even after liberation. You can see the beautiful mood of Hanuman. Then Prahlad Maharaj says this to his friends. My dear friends born into atheistic families, if you can please the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, then there is nothing more rare in this world. In other words, if the Supreme Lord Krishna is pleased with you, then any desire you may have within the core of your heart can be fulfilled without any doubt. As such, what is the use of elevating yourself by the results of fruitive activities, which are automatically achieved in all events by the modes of material nature? And what is the use for you of spiritual emancipation or liberating from material bondage? If you are always engaged in chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord and always relishing the nectar of the lotus feet of the Lord, then there is no necessity for any of these. Then we all know the Damodar Ashtakam prayers. So it is said, O Lord Damodar, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for liberation, nor the supreme goal of eternal life in Vaikuntha, nor for any other boon. My only desire, O Lord, is that your form as Bala Gopal in Vrindavan may constantly remain in my heart. I have no use for any other boon besides this. And then Lord Shiva says to Sati, my dear Sati, persons who are devoted to Narayana, Krishna, are not afraid of anything. If they are elevated to the higher planetary systems, or if they get liberated from material contamination, or if they are pushed down to the hellish condition of life, or in fact, in any situation, whatever, they are not afraid of anything. Simply because they have taken shelter of the lotus feet of Narayan, for them, any position in this material world is as good as another. So now again we can focus on why do the devotees do not accept liberation. So we just saw how beautiful is the mood of devotees. But the first thing is service is the nature of the soul. So it is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela that Jivera Swarupa Hai Krishnera Nityadas. So it is the living entity's constitutional position to be an eternal servant of the Krishna. It is there where we are going to experience the fullness. Then devotees love Krishna, and the nature of love is to give. Give, and give, and not to be free from anything. Even if we just think about, parents loving children, they just want to give. They don't want to like get rid of their children, or or get rid of everything. Their most important focus is to love their child. So that is love. And then service gives taste, sweetness, and rasa. So service to Krishna is full of variety, play, humor, and sweetness, if we think about it. They also say that, Indian culture has so many colorful festivals, beautiful art forms, dances, songs, varieties of sweets, and everything is because of the bhakti tradition. So a soul can express themselves fully in the loving service of the Lord. Service is also warm, personal, and full of emotion. So everything is arranged in such a way that it brings the soul's fullest potential out. And moreover, pure devotees carry the Lord in their heart and experience Him everywhere. So even if we see that they are going through apparent material suffering, they are not actually suffering in the suffering. They are in bliss remembering the Lord. Like Prahlad Maharaj, so even after being so much tortured by his father, attempts were made to kill him, but he was always blissful in the remembrance of the Supreme Lord. And further, Srila Rupa Goswami says, here we are dealing with Brahmananda again. Okay, so comparison between Brahmananda, which is the happiness of liberation, versus the happiness of pure bhakti. So Srila Rupa Goswami says that if Brahmananda, or the happiness of becoming one with the Supreme, is multiplied 1 trillion fold, it still cannot compare to an atomic fraction of the happiness derived from the ocean of devotional service. And then Prahlad Maharaj says that while satisfying Lord Narasimha Dev by his prayer, my dear Lord of the universe, I am feeling transcendental pleasure in your presence and have become merged in the ocean of happiness. I now consider the happiness of Brahmananda to be no more than the water in the impression left by a cow's hoof in the earth compared to this ocean of bliss. So, yeah, we can just look at how the devotees are comparing Brahmananda, which is the happiness of liberation, versus the bliss of pure devotional service. And this is the last one. So, in Sridhar Swami's commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said, my dear Lord, some of the fortunate persons who are swimming in the ocean of your nectar of devotion and who are relishing the nectar of the narration of your pastimes, Certainly no ecstasies that immediately minimize the value of happiness derived from religiousness, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. Such a transcendental devotee regards any kind of happiness other than devotional service as no better than the straw in the street. So after this, we will explore a little bit more about bhakti. So this is also an important verse which says, by attaining the highest platform of devotional service, as I have explained, one can overcome the influence of the three modes of material nature and be situated in the transcendental stage as is the Lord. So here it is also explained that while we are performing bhakti, we also overcome the three modes of material nature. So it is said that liberation is also a byproduct of bhakti, but it is not the ultimate goal. But yeah, so here the purport is also very beautiful. I would like to quickly read it. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is beyond the material creation. Except for him, everything is within the material creation. It is also confirmed in the Vedic literature that before the creation, there was only Narayan. Neither Lord Brahma nor Lord Shiva existed. Only Narayan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu or Krishna, is always in the transcendental position beyond the influence of material creation. The material qualities of goodness, passion, and ignorance cannot affect the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he is called Nirguna, free from all tinges of material qualities. Here, the same fact is confirmed by Lord Kapila. One who is situated in pure devotional service is transcendentally situated as is the Lord. Just as the Lord is unaffected by the influence of the material modes, so too are his pure devotees. One who is not affected by the three modes of material nature is called a liberated soul or Brahma Bhuta soul. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma is the stage of liberation. Aham Brahmasmi, I am not this body. This is applicable only to the person who constantly engages in the devotional service of Krishna and is thus in the transcendental stage. He is above the influence of the three modes of material nature. So yeah, we can here see how it is explained about pure devotees, that how they are beyond the three modes of material nature. But I just wanted to like pose this question for someone like a neophyte like me, who who is himself struggling with the modes of material nature. And so how can one transcend the modes by practicing bhakti when the modes interrupt bhakti practice itself? So if anyone has any reflections on it, we can talk about it, and later we can also uh, see what Chaitanya Charan Prabhu says about the same topic. So, does anyone has any reflection on this topic? Like, how do we, yeah, how do we understand this? Jagannath Prabhu is saying, okay. Uh, do you have any reflection on it, Prabhu?
So, one second. Yeah. So, yeah, this is a brilliant question, as I mentioned.
I think
So,
Gaur Kumar Prabhu
actually,
wants to
I'll speak later, Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhu. Gaur Kumar Prabhu wants to say something.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So in the Bhagavad Gita, what we understand is that so Krishna basically advises that you have to go into the heart of the difficulty. So
Right.
what I mean by that is in the Gita we see that we have to learn to take our chariot into the center of the conflict. If we don't do that, then we will not understand an important lesson, which is to tolerate the discomfort. In fact, it is said that liberation or bhakti, everything starts by tolerating. And so, how do you transcend the modes? You transcend the modes by tolerating. And it is said that even a spiritualist journey begins only when they start tolerating the modes and the difficulties that come in their lives. If they can just do that, that is the first step towards transcending the modes. So that is something I wanted to mention. So, and basically in the Gita also, we learn that we have to tolerate the discomfort without acting or reacting from our small, like immediate stories that we have. So I'll stop there, Prabhu. Thank you.
That's a very beautiful answer, Prabhu. So basically, tolerating the modes of material nature. Yeah. So I think, yeah, Krishna, Krishna Prabhu, he wants to say something.
Yeah, no, after you finish your comment, Prabhu, I can go after you finish.
No, bro. No, I was
Yeah.
just saying, like the way Prabhu said, like tolerating the modes of three modes is like tolerating the happiness and tolerating the suffering, the way it is described in Bhagavad Gita. So yeah, I was just reflecting on that.
Yes, yes. And in a class, of course, this is very theoretical for me, but in a class, I heard that seeing everything that we encounter as Krishna's gift or Krishna's way of um, you know giving us a message or giving us a path to progress is a way of transcending the modes, which is if we get consumed um, by either the sorrows or the joys that we experience, then we will end up feeling that we are the cause for the joy or the sorrow, and we have some role to play. Whereas eventually the ultimate cause is only one, and Krishna decides what we are expected to appearance through, of course, through karma and through other means, through the various shaktis. So recognizing that and thinking about it is one way of transcending. Just a thought, Prabhu.
That's very beautiful and profound, Prabhu. So basically, whatever is happening, taking it as will of Krishna, and like, yeah, I think it kind of like aligns with what Gaur Kumar Prabhu said as well, that basically you're tolerating everything. So you're not getting carried away in anything, not carried away by sorrow, not carried away by happiness, and taking everything as Krishna's will. That's very beautiful, Prabhu. Jagannath Gopal Prabhu, you want to say something?
Yeah, sorry, Prabhu. That time Pritu was crying and I had to see
No
what
problem.
had happened. So, just combining what Gaurakumar Prabhu, Krishnan Prabhu mentioned, one thing is, yes, tolerance can be defined in many ways, but one way is tolerance that devotees define is that we continue with our purpose despite whatever situations we are in.
Right,
So, despite whatever modes we are in, we try to continue our spiritual practice. We try to continue our, connection to Krishna. That is one thing about tolerance. And
right,
um, the other thing I wanted to say was even within bhakti, if you look at it, there are certain things, certain sevas, for example, that need sattva gun. There
right,
are certain sevas that need rajogun, right? Like you want to start a project, right? So starting the project requires a lot of rajogun actually. If you look at it, it's transcendental because it's in Krishna's service, but
right,
outwardly it is like rajogun. It requires that passion, right? And then
right,
tamogun also has its place in the sense that uh, we by resting, for example, by sleeping, by getting good sleep, devotees are more energized to do other activities for Krishna. Like that, the modes also have their role to play. Of course, it could go south in any mode. Like mode of goodness also has the flip side of pride that we might get stuck there and not want to transcend. The mode of passion, in the mode of passion, it might become everything about my own desire, my own, profit, adoration, distinction. And in the mode of ignorance, it can also go south in terms of self-destructive activities. So it can go south, but with guidance, we can utilize the modes also properly in Krishna's service, and that way we can transcend. So it's interesting that uh, devotional service is a dynamic thing.
Right.
It's not like a static thing. It's a dynamic thing. So externally within devotional service, one might appear to be in one of the modes, but actually that devotee has transcended the mode because they are doing it for Krishna, like that.
Right. That is very beautiful understanding, Prabhu. Basically, using the modes themselves in the service of the Lord, but balancing them, not letting them go like too
Yeah,
much south.
yeah,
Yeah.
that goes along the lines of what Krishna and Prabhu also mentioned, right? Seeing everything as being orchestrated by Krishna, seeing everything as being given by Krishna. So we should offer it back to Krishna. Similarly, we are endowed with certain modes of nature which are prominent in our own being. So yeah, rather than suppressing it, we can try to see how we can dovetail. It's a tricky process. We
Right.
need very genuine guidance to do it, but could be done.
Makes sense. Thank you, Prabhu. That answer was beautiful. Yeah. So I think after all these beautiful answers, I would just like to read from what Chaitanya Charan Prabhu says about this exact topic. So he gives one example. So he says, suppose we have fallen in an ocean and are being tossed about its waves. If we found an anchor steady enough to be unshaken by the waves, then all we would need to do is just hold on to that anchor. I think, as all of you said, like just, holding on to bhakti, not getting deviated, just holding on, even if whatever happens. So the waves would still hit us and may even shake us, but they wouldn't be able to sweep us away. Bhakti Yoga is a similar anchor that connects us with the unshakable divinity Krishna. In fact, Bhakti Yoga might be better compared to a ridge that extends to a nearby huge landmass. By holding on to the Bhakti Yoga ridge, we could gradually move to Krishna landmass, thus becoming decreasingly vulnerable to the waves. So I think this is in line to what all of you said, just holding on to Krishna and tolerating everything, tolerating the waves, and eventually, because of the strong anchor we are holding, the vulnerability towards the three modes will go on decreasing. So yeah, with that, we can move to our next theme, which is seeing everyone with equal vision. So here there is an interesting verse which says, the devotee should regularly see my statues in the temple, touch my lotus feet, and offer worshipable paraphernalia and prayer. He should see in the spirit of renunciation from the mode of goodness and see every living entity as spiritual. As we see here, the focus is on the deity worship, but along with that, the focus is also on seeing the Paramatma in everyone's heart, seeing everyone as part and parcel of the Supreme Personality. So, uh, so here about this topic of Samadarshana comes, and I would like to just reflect on what Prabhupada says about this, and then we'll also come to one story of Srila Prabhupada. So, Srila Prabhupada says that one on the highest platform does not make any distinctions. He sees everyone engaged in the service of the Lord. But when one takes the position of acharya or preacher, he must make distinctions for the sake of instructing others and delivering them. Even the highest devotee acts on the intermediate platform when he preaches. And Srila Prabhupada strongly criticized the persons who are still in the bodily concept of life, but who are trying to imitate the highest devotees, the Uttamadhikaris. So he said that the Uttamadhikari knows that there is no difference between a vastly learned Brahmana and a dog on the street, because both of them belong to the Lord, are of the Lord. So, although they are embodied differently according to the qualities of material nature. So, such a learned devotee is not misled by the external bodies, but is attracted to the actual spirit within the entities. And he further says that those who imitate an Uttama Adhikari by flaunting a sense of oneness or fellowship, but who behave on the bodily platform, are actually false philanthropists. The Uttamadhikari sees the living entity's soul and serves them as a spirit. Thus, the material aspect is also served. So yeah, this was more of like the philosophy which Prabhupada said, that though we on from the supreme, like the people who are on the stage of Uttamadhikari, they won't make any distinctions, but also from the material perspective, certain distinctions should be made, not from the spiritual vision, but just for the practicability. But, so I'll just go into a story of Srila Prabhupada. So this is the story when Prabhupada attended Gita Jayanti at the Gita Bhavan in Indore in 1970. So Srila Prabhupada, when he entered that Gita Samiti hall where everything was going on, he was actually very surprised to find that there was no picture of Krishna at all in the hall. And he was wondering that, in India, even for ordinary political meetings, like there are pictures of Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru, Gandhiji kept with garlands and all of them. And you're talking about Bhagavad Gita, and the original speaker of Gita is like nowhere to find. So he was really surprised about it. And they had just kept a lamp over there. And those people said that we have a lamp. And Prabhupada got even frustrated. He was like, is Krishna a lamp? Has he ever said that I am a lamp? Why are you replacing a lamp with Krishna? And next day, Srila Prabhupada raised this issue with his guests who were visiting him to point out that the people who were speaking were not properly understanding and presenting the Bhagavad Gita. And also, they were not representing Krishna properly. So, Srila Prabhupada explained that his mission was to present the Bhagavad Gita properly as it is and to expose those who did not. Then the guest started saying to Prabhupada that he should see and treat others with equal vision. He shouldn't be criticizing anyone. So, to which Prabhupada replied that he is not on the stage of Samadarshi. He took a very humble position. He said, I am not on that stage. And then the guests counter questioned Srila Prabhupada that what is his contribution to knowledge in his parampara? If he is successor in his parampara, what is his contribution towards his predecessors? And if you are teaching others to have equal vision, what is equal vision for you? They asked him. So to which Prabhupada answered that for me, Samadarshi is equal vision is why should only Hindus know Krishna? The whole world should know Krishna. And then he also said, like, but if you, the Hindus only are refusing to know, what can I do with anyone else? So here Srila Prabhupada answered their challenge by his practical work. And he had made Krishna consciousness available to all persons all over the world. That was his equal vision. And that was his contribution to his parampara and to all of us. So Srila Prabhupada had presented Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead and the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And people all over the world are still accepting and becoming Krishna's devotees. And just hearing this, the guests were really impressed by the vision of Prabhupada. So yeah, so that was the story of Prabhupada. And I also wanted to mention one story about His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, which I heard in the last year's fundraiser event from Veerabhadra Ram Prabhu. So Veerabhadra Ram Prabhu said that once he was walking with Maharaj and was saying how hard it is to stay in New York City with the type of, overwhelming energy and all types of people around. And he said, like, coming from Florida, it feels even more disturbing, all this energy. And he asked Maharaj's opinion about the city. To which Maharaj said, it is a wonderful place for bhakti, as there is so much opportunity to serve everyone and bring everyone closer to Krishna. And then he said, it is a beautiful place because I see the four-handed form of Lord Narayana everywhere and in everyone. So there is so much opportunity to serve the Lord. So yeah, that was just a very high level and very beautiful answer. I was just trying to reflect on it, like Maharaj literally seeing the Lord in everyone, like the type of people we see around in the city and the way we look at them versus like someone like Maharaj looking at them, it's so different and it's a good awareness. Obviously, we shouldn't try to imitate him, but yeah, just a nice reflection to have. So yeah, this was one more question I had for everyone. So here we are seeing on, how we should acknowledge the Lord in everyone's heart. So how can we apply this knowledge when we feel hurt or misunderstood, knowing that everyone is a temple of God? And there is a subsequent question here as well, that how can we balance our inner spiritual vision with the need to address real external conflicts practically? So this is something like inner level, getting knowing that okay, this person, everyone has God in them, but externally also dealing with the practical conflict. So if anyone has any reflections on this, that would be great. Yeah, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu. Yeah.
So this may sound a little impractical,
Right.
but and definitely something that I also need to develop. But then, when we are on the receiving end of misunderstanding, or we are on the receiving end of hurt and things like
Right.
that, one thing we could probably do, if we have the resources to do it, is to try to understand the other person also,
Right.
because if they are a temple of God, and if they are also trying to realize God, there is some reasonability, uh, reasonableness, whatever, in whatever they do. So that way we can try to do that. And yeah, I mean, but sometimes the situation is just so difficult that we can't even do that, which is definitely a genuine situation somebody could be in. That in that case, yeah, I guess we would just have to keep distance and you know uh, pray pray to Krishna to give us the right consciousness and so on. So two examples come to mind.
Right.
uh, so actually, this Vidura, he kind of exemplifies this this particular behavior about forgive but do not trust. So you should forgive, but you should not trust the person immediately. And the example of Vidura is, of course, there we know how Dhritarashtra would always listen to his son, who would insult Vidura again and again and again, right? And
Right.
at one point, being sick of Vidura's advice, Dhritarashtra actually sends him out. He just says, "Just go away." But then later on, he realizes his folly and calls him back. And then now, when he calls him back, Vidura, he forgives Dhritarashtra. He he maintains an amicable relationship. He maintains that brotherhood with Dhritarashtra, but at the same time, he's open to Dhritarashtra's nepotism. He's open to it. He doesn't just naively trust Vidura. Similarly, the example between Kamsa and uh, this one, Vasudev, right? So
Right.
Vasudev, after Kamsa kills all his children, and then the seventh child, he's actually Balaram, but he's transported, and then everyone thinks that the child it was a stillbirth or whatever. I don't
Right.
remember the exact story. And then the eighth child is Krishna. Krishna is taken to Vrindavan, and then Maya Devi herself comes as a child, and then she tells Kamsa. So then that time Kamsa thinks, okay, I mean, now that I have already received this news that the child who's going to kill me is born elsewhere, so why should I unnecessarily imprison my brother and his wife, my sister and his and her husband? So then
Right.
he releases them. Now, actually, it is said that Vasudev forgives Kamsa, but he does not naively trust Kamsa also. It's not that he goes and says, "Oh, Kamsa, actually, I went to Vrindavan and I took Krishna with me. Actually, Krishna is in Vrindavan." No, that was
Right.
not what Vasudev did. Similarly, Ram, I mean, I'm taking a long time, but just to quickly complete
That's beautiful, Prabhu. Yeah.
Like in case of Ravan also, after Ravana is killed by Lord Ram is actually, he tells Vibhishan to do the last rites of Ravana. And Vibhishan is like, this is crazy. How can I do it?
Right.
This Ravana not only, sent me out, not only insulted me and drove me away, but more than that, he kidnapped Sita. He, blasphemed you in such horrible ways, and he gave trouble to so many devotees. How can I do last rites for him? But still, Ram said no. You should see, with equal vision. You should see the soul of Ravana, and that's how you should do your duty as a brother. So like that, we have to see, even in forgiveness, we don't that naive attitude doesn't have to be there. So yeah, it's something that I was looking into Vidura's life. That's where I got found this. It comes in Vidur Niti actually, as
Interesting.
well. Yeah, about forgiveness.
It's very deep, Prabhu. So on a hand, like materially doing the right thing which needs to be done, but maybe internally, as we see in the story of Vibhishana, like internally we are not holding anything against them, but
Yeah.
on external level we are acting wisely. We are not acting naively with them.
Right, yeah. I mean, and that forgiveness is actually what is forgiveness eventually? Forgiveness is not naive trust, also,
Right.
but at the same time, forgiveness, the most important aspect of forgiveness is that we don't hold that resentment in our heart. We don't hold that, constant resentment in our heart, you know, that hatred for the person. We don't have it. We let
Makes
that
sense.
hatred go. That is forgiveness, actually. Doesn't mean that we immediately go and embrace the person and whatnot. So,
Right.
yeah, this is a very lofty principle to apply, but definitely something that, examples set by all these great souls in Shastras. Yeah.
It's very deep, Prabhu. Thank you for the answer, Prabhu. Thanks. Sindhu Kanya Mataji, you had also raised a hand.
Yeah, just real quick, I was gonna say, um, trying to see the temple of God within other people. I think what I've noticed is not only is it like our own bodily identification, it's you identify other people with their bodies, and so that's why it's so difficult to see the temple of God, that they are a temple of God because of that same bodily identification. We forget that they're being driven by the three modes of material nature, by their past karmas. Um, so we are influenced by that, and other people are influenced by that. But instead, we start blaming he did this, she did that because of that bodily identification.
Yeah, that's actually very deep, Mataji. So basically, always remembering that as we are subject to the modes of material nature, everyone else is also in the similar situation. So their real nature is transcendental to all of this, but they are also acting because of the situation all of us are in. That's actually very profound. Krishan Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, and this may not be directly related, but I heard this in a class by Gaurang Prabhu this last weekend, this Sunday. So I thought I'll share it with you, with all of us. he was talking about, I think this is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, about the three levels of Vaishnava. And the first level is when somebody chants the name of Lord Krishna even once, or
Right.
then they are actually considered a Vaishnava even once. So anybody who has even seen or read the name of Krishna once, they are Vaishnavas. The second level is somebody who chants the name of Krishna non-stop and without any offense. That's the second level. And the third level is when you see the person, they remind you of Krishna.
Wow.
That's the third level of Vaishnavas. So I thought it was such a beautiful thing. And then he said, how do we interact with these people? So if even if somebody has said the name of Krishna once, they may have, we have to treat them with respect.
Right.
And that is the basic, Vaishnava etiquette, to treat others with respect. So I agree with, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu and, what others, even what Sindhu Kanya Mataji said, that we have to treat others with respect, but at the same time, we have to be careful. We have to protect ourselves. We can forgive, but we don't need to forget, or we have to be careful so that we are not naive. So that is, and we do that even with respect,
Right.
even to people who have offended us. And the second level, Vaishnava, how we deal with them is by serving them.
Right.
So whenever we get an opportunity, we serve them, and so that because they're always chanting the name of the Lord. And the people who remind us of Krishna, the way we have to, is by surrendering to them. So
Right.
if they remind us of Krishna, then we have to surrender to them. So that's the way he was saying in this class, that these are the ways we can interact. So yeah, I just thought I'll share that, Prabhu.
Yeah, that's very deep, Prabhu. So basically, depending on the three levels, I think this chapter also kind of mentions those levels, that if knowing that we should behave friendly with the peers, we should pay respect to our seniors and to our juniors. Basically, we should give charity, like dana and mana it mentions. So I think it kind of resembles with that, like based on the three levels. So it's like, as you said, like internally we know that everyone is a temple of God, but based on their external situation, according to their level, we should deal accordingly. That's very beautiful, bro. I loved the point where you said the people looking at whom we remember Krishna. That's so beautiful. And I did remember some people when you said that. So thank you for that, bro. Uh, I think we are almost we are our time is up here, so I think I'll just end the class here. Yeah, well, yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. Can you go back to that slide? It was very nice.
Which one, bro? This one?
The
Oh, sorry.
finger wala.
Oh, that finger.
I think that was the theme that you wanted to cover.
Yeah, this was something I wanted to read some stories about envy and hurt from Mahabharata, but never mind. I can share them later, maybe on the group.
Acha. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Beautiful class, very beautiful. I mean, I loved it, every moment of it. Lot of interactions, lot of you know examples from Shastra, examples from Prabhupada's own life, Radhanath Maharaj's life. So yeah, overall, very very well prepared and very very well delivered. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Thank
Yeah.
you for answering everything and giving some such profound wisdom, Prabhu. And like everything I said was just like copy pasted from all great people. Nothing of this is mine. Also, I forgot to take blessings of everyone before starting, but I hope everyone gave their blessings. And please forgive me if I said anything that was wrong or not in alignment with the parampara. So, yeah.
No, nothing. Everything was aligned, Prabhu. Everything was very well aligned. don't worry about it. And yeah. It is said, Chaitanya Chan Prabhu says this: when you copy from one person, they call it plagiarism, but when you copy from 1,000 people, it is called something, he says. I forget, but that's what we do now as devotees. We just repeat what is there. That is the parampara system. We don't, yeah. Of course, we might repeat in innovative ways. That is there, but then we don't change the essence. We keep it as it is. We repeat the essence. So, yeah.
Thank you, bro. Yeah,
Hare
so
Krishna Soham Prabhu, it was really soothing class, and the way you delivered was really pleasing to hear everything of it, all the examples, and uh, I think the way you delivered it very calmly. Uh, Thank you so much. I mean, yeah, it was such a pleasure to hear you. Hare Krishna.
thank you so much, Prabhu, for your kind words. This was nothing in front of your like intellectual classes, Prabhu, but thank you for your encouragement.
Thank you, Soham Prabhu. It was a brilliant class. How many slides more did you have, Prabhu?
Let me check, Prabhu. I think I kind of did not calculate the time properly. I think there were like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6, 7 more slides, Prabhu.
Oh, Krishna. I would love to hear that actually, because you churned so many things and so many wonderful points came out. I liked how you had all the questions and how everybody participated and how you gave your answers in the end. I loved the personal examples, the stories that you shared. And I think in one word, if in one sentence, if I have to summarize, it's about bhakti and mukti, which you very, very nicely addressed. So if you can please send your slides, that will also help, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare
Definitely, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, I think we can end the class. वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंतकोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
सोहम प्रभु की जय।
Jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
हरे
Hare
कृष्ण।
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.